Well, Cal, we're on the last leg of our journey at Fraser Island, but one thing I really would like to know is how do you go with claims, accidents that happen over here?
Yeah, absolutely, Jamie. So Fraser Island, biggest sand island in the world, right?
Yeah.
So very much driven by tides. So the sorts of issues and challenges we see on Fraser are usually driven by people not understanding when the tides are and not getting their pressures right. So the challenges are, if you've got a low tide, you're driving down the beach, you're probably a little bit more likely to drive around an obstacle rather than take the bypass. But what we find happens there is you get hung up on a rock, your pressures aren't right, you get bogged, and you get water ingress with an incoming tide. On the other side, on a high tide, you're driving down the beach. Now, a lot of the beaches on Fraser Island are 80 kilometres an hour, but there's also sections where it's 30. So there's a reason for that. Right? So we saw it this afternoon when we were coming down. A lot more bumps, and where the freshwater's exiting the island through some of the creek crossings, or a lot of the creek crossings that we see down the beach, it's about actually being ready for them. So if you hit a creek crossing at 80 kilometres an hour, when you're further up the beach, as you know, they can be quite large. So that pretty much leads to the end of your holiday if you hit it hard enough with suspension damage, panel damage and that sort of thing.
Yeah, right. And I guess on top of that, then they've got the recovery to get the vehicle off the island.
Definitely, really good point. So, if you are covered to be driving here on the sand at Fraser Island, then, you've got a claimable event, but your holiday's over, like I mentioned. If you're not covered to be here, and a lot of people find out the hard way, then you've got to get that car recovered so you can fix it.
With all our vehicles, I know they're all insured by Club. So what are the benefits that people can have by being with Club 4x4?
Well, for somewhere like this, it's certainty around being covered for where you are, right? So driving on the beach anywhere on Fraser Island is not an issue. Then it's also covering your car for what it's worth. Now, all of your cars are heavily modified, so they should be. So you make sure that if something goes wrong, then you're in a position where the payout that you're going to get if you were unlucky enough to total the car is enough to get you back to where you were. Finally, for somewhere like Fraser, recovery. If you have a breakdown or you get bogged, if you were to call a specialist recovery agent like Rainbow Beach, that would be at your cost. But with Club, every single policy comes with $1,500 worth of recovery cover. Right? So for somewhere like this, it makes it really easy and takes the burden off having to cover that cost.
No brainer.